What my viewers care about is the fact that as a woman, as a parent who have got, I don't know why you're laughing because it's not funny actually, when you've got teenage girls that cannot even go to the park with their friends without being snatched away from their friends and assaulted in bushes, when you've got 17-year-old girls that can't even walk the streets without a random Sudanese guy trying to snatch them off the street.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Julian Discourse. Why is it that law-abiding taxpayers are constantly ignored while dangerous criminals get total government protection? In this explosive GB news clash, watch Michelle Dewberry absolutely erupt on a Labour Justice Minister for literally laughing when confronted about mistakenly released criminals and the terrifying reality of women's safety on our streets. While the political elite coddles offenders and hides their identities, ordinary citizens are left to fend for themselves. Hit subscribe and let's watch their narrative collapse in real time.
Doesn't love a good plan, but that's not really what I'm asking you about. I'm asking you about the two prisoners that David Lammy told us had been released. We don't know anything about these men because for some reason you refuse to tell the public who these men are. In fact, actually, one would think that you might want people's help in trying to recapture them, but no, it seems not. I actually don't think it's good enough, and my viewers will probably agree with me. I don't think it's good enough when you tell the British public that two dangerous criminals deemed dangerous enough to be locked behind bars for the public safety, I assume. I don't feel it's good enough that you just say, I'm not going to give you a running commentary as to where those guys are, whether or not they've been recaptured.
Well, Michelle, I can reassure you and your viewers that we are working very closely with the police on any release scenarios, and we will
so
take
have you
our
recaptured
guidance
these two
from the
men
police
then?
as to what is best in terms of communication. Well, Michelle, as I've said already, we're not going to be giving a running commentary on each given case. We take our advice from police and from the prison service as what is the best steps to take to ensure public safety, and I will continue to do that.
I think that's pretty appalling, actually, that we know that potentially dangerous criminals are amongst us, and we have no idea who they are, what they've done, who to look out for, and whether or not they're still even at large. One of the primary responsibilities of a government, as you will know, is to protect its citizens. Many of my viewers, we speak about this often, feel very strongly, you say absolutely, but many of my viewers feel that actually your government's policy, particularly when it comes to the border situation in the Channel, you are directly actually putting particularly women and girls at risk in this country. What do you say back to that?
Well, look, firstly, as I've said before, we deal very closely with the police, and I take advice very seriously from the police on how we deal with these matters and how we communicate these matters. In terms of dealing with the small boat crisis, absolutely, we've got to try and clamp down on that small boat crisis, and we were taking measures, and the Home Secretary announced really radical reforms just a few weeks ago that will begin to take effect as and when they are introduced through Parliament. And thirdly, today, the other news, Michelle, today is that this government has now deported more foreign national offenders than ever before. 74%
and most of them have gone off their own accord, and many of them we've had to pay for the privilege of. Anyway, look, that's really interesting. Let me just get back onto this point about the safety of women and girls.
You say pay for the privilege.
Yeah.
What I don't want to do, Michelle, is have people who come to our country, commit offences, and we end up having to pay for them to serve time in prison. No. Where we can, we should be getting them out of the country and return to where they came from. And that's what this government is doing. 74% increase compared to what the Conservatives managed. And we'll continue to do that with more measures to make it easier and quicker to get rid of foreign national offenders coming into Parliament next year.
Yeah, and my viewers don't really care about the Conservatives and what they did. They're toast now, they're gone. What my viewers care about is the fact that as a woman, as a parent who have got, I don't know why you're laughing because it's not funny actually, when you've got teenage girls that cannot even go to the park with their friends without being snatched away from their friends and assaulted in bushes, when you've got 17-year-old girls that can't even walk the streets without a random Sudanese guy trying to snatch them off the street, the CCTV footage that we saw recently. My viewers are absolutely terrified for their own safety, for their children's safety, and for their grandchildren's safety. What do you say back to those viewers who feel very strongly that your government and the previous one is directly putting us, British citizens, at risk?
Well, we've got to do more to tackle violence against women and girls, and actually Later this week, the government will be setting out a really radical strategy to deal with that, to halve violence against women and girls over the next decade, and that's a really important part of this government's ambition. We've got to get more police on the streets to make sure that people do not feel unsafe in parks or at night or in their communities.
They do,
that's absolutely vital, and that's why we're recruiting. Michelle, that's why we're recruiting 13,000 more police officers. Michelle, I know that too many people feel unsafe in their communities, and we're trying to take action to deal with that. It's why we're recruiting more police officers. It's why we've announced the harsher sentences for whole-life murderers of police officers today. It's why we're deporting more criminals from this country who shouldn't be here. It's why by the end of this Parliament we'll have more criminals locked up behind bars than ever before. So look, more work to be done, but I won't for a minute take the argument that this government is staying silent. We're taking action on law and order, and we're doing more. It
is supposed to be that if you do right and proper, if you work hard, if you contribute into the system, if you're a law-abiding citizen and all the rest of it, then this country, this system should look after you in return, I feel. And I feel increasingly so, actually, Scarlett, that we seem to be good, honest, decent people, seem to be getting deprioritised all the time. Why should the identity and all the rest of it of these two absolute wrong-uns, there must be wrong-uns or else they're not being sent to prison for no reason. So why is the privacy and all the rest of these wrong-uns put above normal British people? Why should we not be told who these people are, where they are lurking, what they've done, and how we can help capture them where required?
Because, as he says, the police and the prison office, the prison service, are saying we don't want to release those names. I have absolutely no idea. But can I say that in general, I do think that if one is a reasonable, upstanding citizen, that actually we do get looked after. And having lived in this country for rather longer than yes, I mean, yes, I do. I do.
How? Tell me, like, how so? Because I genuinely don't feel like that, actually. I feel like, actually, the desires, I feel like, actually, we have a country where the tail wags the dog, where all of these minority groups, whoever they are, seem to get prioritised over the majority population. You get all of these people that come in on these not-so-small boats. They get fast-tracked often to NHS healthcare, where my viewers, they'll be sitting there for God knows how long in pain, often chronic pain and all the rest of it down the back of the queue. I just don't. I feel like the priority order is wrong.
No, I don't think the facts actually bear you out. I think that's how it feels. And I don't think, I think, as Jake said, they're sending back people massively now.
No, they're not.
They are.
No,
they are.
When he says we're sending people back, and that's what I said to him, he says, we're returning foreign, I can't remember what his word was, we're returning foreign migrants, whatever, at record levels. What they fail to mention, and it happens all the time, is that actually what is happening is, yes, people are leaving at a rate of knots, but that is often voluntarily, point one. Often the government don't even realise they've gone. And then often, point three, we've had to pay for them to leave. That's not really strong government policy, is it?
Surely getting rid of them is, as he says, what do you want? Do you want them in jail where we have to pay for them, or do you want them gone? Actually, we want them gone. And that's what's happening. But I think all this thing about minority groups getting more than, frankly, white people, I just don't think it's right. I just don't think it's correct, and I think we can go on and on about it, right?
We'll go on and on about it, actually. I think this... I will. I make no apologies for it. Yeah. I think this country is heading in absolutely the wrong direction. I feel like it gets worse and worse and worse every day. I feel like almost there's barely a day or a week goes by when I don't pick up the paper or look online or whatever and see yet another case of some migrant asylum seeker guy assaulting young girls. It sickens me.
So why don't we, in that case, so every 3 days a woman is a man by a partner or ex-partner. Do we read about that? No, right? There is the number of women and girls who are being assaulted by white people as well as brown people and black people is appalling. Do we talk about, no, we talk about the minority of people who are, I mean, I think it's 59. I would feel better if we actually talked about the real problem about violence against women and girls in this country, because it's not a race thing. It's not it's actually about the way women and girls are treated.
My job is not to make you feel better. My job is to try and have the conversations that people are having at home, to try and raise the issues that people are passionate about. And you're telling the wrong person when it comes to domestic abuse, because as is public knowledge, I spent my whole childhood on a social services at-risk register because of in-home domestic abuse. I've been in domestic violence shelters as a child, and I've been an ambassador for Women's Aid domestic violence charities. So nobody knows better than me the scourge, the cancer, the disgusting nature of domestic violence that affects this country. And what I would say back to that, it is because we have so many sick, twisted, disgraceful British individuals that we absolutely, therefore, should not be importing any foreign ones to add to that mix as well. That's what I would say to that.
That's fine. As long as we recognise that actually most women are raped.
What you just witnessed on GB News is what happens when the political establishment is forced to confront the disastrous consequences of its own policies. When Michelle Dewberry cornered Justice Minister Jake Richards on the shocking accidental release of dangerous criminals, his refusal to provide basic transparency, and his bizarre, dismissive laugh when confronted about women's safety, exposed the terrifying chasm between the ruling class and ordinary citizens. To understand why public anger has reached a boiling point, look at the undeniable facts and data behind this prison release crisis. This wasn't just a minor administrative glitch. According to official Ministry of Justice statistics, 262 prisoners were released in error across England and Wales in the 2024-2025 reporting year, a staggering 128% increase from the previous year, marking the highest number of mistaken releases on record. This systemic collapse was directly accelerated by the government's controversial emergency early release schemes, engineered to free up prison space by letting thousands of offenders out after serving just 40% of their sentences. Instead of modernizing systems or building necessary infrastructure, prison staff were left navigating complex legal changes, using outdated paper files and manual calculators, resulting in dozens of inmates being walked out the prison gates by mistake. Yet, when two potentially dangerous offenders remain at large in our communities, the Ministry of Justice hides behind the excuse of not giving a running commentary, flatly refusing to warn the public or release their identities. Think about the backwards reality of that policy. The government demands absolute transparency and compliance from law-abiding taxpayers, yet shields the identities of mistakenly freed criminals to protect administrative procedures. You have an absolute right to safe streets and transparent governance. Thank you for watching Julian Discourse. If you refuse to let the establishment laugh off your family's safety, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and I'll see you next time.